Okay, it is now time to call this order, so we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll now entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
So there's a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Agenda has been approved, and we'll move to the public hearing for our 2020-2021 amended budget.
Did you receive any comments?
No, we did not receive any comments.
Then in your packet is, and I printed one for you too,
Thank you.
is just the amended, taking into consideration the athletic fee. So, oh, sorry, we're doing driver's license.
The first item
Okay.
4 is budget.
So as part of the amended budget, you'll also see that I attached and I printed for you the different scenarios regarding athletic fees. As part of our supplemental levy, we really wanted to provide some credit to parents. We had initially implemented $200 per sport at the high school and $100 at the middle school. So if you notice, there's a yellow column and an orange so that I could give you the impact. If we reduced each sport by $25, that's the yellow column. And by orange is the reducing each student's fee by $50. What I failed to provide on is the total impact. So the yellow column, the district then would supplement athletics by $80,000, just shy of $81,000. And if we reduced it by $50 per sport, it'd be $150 at the high school and $50 at the middle school. The district impact would be $113,300. And I have taken allowances or accommodations for that in the proposed budget. So it's really up to you as a board. But I do think that we need to provide the parents a little bit of a relief, given that our supplemental levy, we have room to do that. So the administrators, when we talked to them last week, they were in support of really either scenario, but the initial recommendation of 175 and 75.
The difference between 150 and 175 is almost 35 grand.
32,375.
That's you can do a lot with that. And I would be leaning towards the yellow solution. That way we're fulfilling the things that we told the people that we would do, and we're also being smart with the money that they've given us, including those people that aren't involved in sports. And that would, I think that 35 grand going towards, or 32 grand going towards salaries of educators or whatever else would be a lot. I'm much more in favor of utilizing that money elsewhere.
I agree with that, but I also think due to the spectator issue and due to some of the other stuff where, not as many people can come in as they want and not as many, I know transportation, that the high school kids have worked hard to earn money to transport their teams this year. I think if it's written in the budget that we can do $50 at the middle school and $150 at the high school, I feel like that's I think we could do it as a district without killing us. I think that would be reasonable.
Let me ask you this. So we've got this SRO thing, okay, that we're talking about too. So the chief of police advised us, is that, or whatever, on it, adding another half SRO.
Right.
That's part of this, right?
Well, we have budgeted in for one full-time,
Right,
and as long as we're in yellow status, we feel that's sufficient. If we
Okay.
go to green,
Yep.
then we certainly can address adding additional. But it's really a conversation with the city controller and the mayor, as well as the chief, of what they will support financially. So I think that's a little bit up in the air. I know the chief was willing to work
Right.
with a half.
yeah, yeah.
But I think that there's a little bit of concern of their ability to hire a part-time officer.
Yeah.
And find one that would
Okay.
work on a part-time basis. So I think that, that's an ongoing conversation that we're working with the city, and they've been extremely helpful.
Okay,
So if we find ourselves in a situation to go and bring all the students back into the green.
Yep.
Then, because then we'd maybe be half a year into it, we could bring in a second full-time.
right. But then we have the ability to do that.
We do.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That was a question.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in agreement with Alicia on, because it's something that we promised the voters, first off, that if we passed the levy, that we would see some reduction in this. And as well, we don't have the people in stands. They're working hard on the transportation side of it and everything else. And it's already a stressful time, and it's hard on everybody's pocketbook to start with, regardless. And I think anyway, if we can make it work in the budget, then I'm in total agreement of, I like the idea of dropping it to 150 in the orange, going 150 and 50. That's my opinion.
I
So
agree.
that's something you can address on the action item when we approve.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just if there's any more questions, I know we didn't get any from the public. Dave, as well. Is there any other questions though that you have?
I don't.
Anything good?
And we could move on to the driver's ed. I think also we didn't receive
We did
We
not.
did receive one email from a parent that was asking about a student that had maybe started the process before. And I think if that's the case, if someone has enrolled or they've started their online and tried, that we would honor the original pricing. But Middleton hasn't raised the price of driver's train for a very long time.
Mhm,
All the surrounding districts are 200 or more.
mhm.
And so we felt, in working with Randy Palace, the driver ed instructor, that would help give us, and make sure we're covering our costs. Because our costs have jumped this year because we can't have as many in the classroom, so we're providing more classes, so
Do we only have one instructor?
we do currently. Partly because we don't have one car,
Okay,
and that's something we're gonna need to plan, or if we're gonna continue to offer it, so we have such great attendance that we maybe need to
because it's a
look at
good price.
getting another car. It's very competitive. But we
Trust
don't,
me.
we would go into the red this year without a price increase, so I think it's really important.
Oh, no, yes.
What is our price now?
140
And everyone else is 200 or better?
or better.
It's been 140 since at least 2012.
And does the driver's training program operate independently? So like it's self-funded
It is.
potentially like that?
The state reimburses us, and then, yes, it's self-sufficient right now.
Okay, so that's what I
The
was
general
asking.
fund does not supplement, and that's why I really am hesitant to go into the red.
Right. So what's your suggestion on what it should be?
200.
200?
Which is,
That was based on Randy's
Oh, that's totally-
recommendation.
still a good deal.
Yeah.
That's a really good deal.
I don't think any of the
I just paid
private,
300 just for the
Operators.
driving part of it.
I would say I paid over 300.
Yeah, that was just for the driving part.
So I think it's still very reasonable and within range.
Yep.
And will help us maintain the program. So that's also on the action item down below, but.
Any other comments for public hearing or questions about those driver's training or the budget?
I do have one question going back to the fee deal that I forgot. So let's say we approve whatever we're going to approve on the athletic part of it. So that the parents and students that have already paid the 200, let's say, they would get reimbursed, or could there potentially be an option that the people that paid 200 don't want to get reimbursed, they're okay with it, to leave a certain amount of money in there for maybe some kids that couldn't afford it, underprivileged or something to that effect?
Yeah.
That we could have available for some kids that might not be able to play.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think the bookkeepers at the schools are tracking all that, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
For them, so they have good records on.
And they can either
Refunds
apply
and-
it to another sport, or they could
Right.
voluntarily allow the program to keep it.
Okay.
Use, we can make sure that's dictated.
And just for clarification, so this is what this year's budget looks like, and then we can revisit this again next year when COVID's not so crazy and finances look a little bit different, and we can revisit that again at that time too, if we need to readjust busing or look at cost again too. So this would just be for this year.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, let's go ahead real quick before we go to the consent agenda, just by way of information for the public. There has been some miscommunication, and I will take responsibility for that partially, about the agenda today, and that the assumption that we were going to talk about the athletics attendance and what that looks like. Our athletic director has not had the opportunity to attend a home soccer game or a home volleyball game. When the recommendation to change the football spectators came, he had the opportunity to attend a home game. And at this point, due to the fact that he has not attended those, we have no recommendation from him, which would make for a hard discussion because we have nothing to back our discussion with. So I sincerely apologize, and it has been duly noted that is on the agenda for the 23rd, which would be a week and a half from today, Wednesday, the 23rd. And our athletic director will be present at that meeting to help us as we have those discussions. And so I sincerely apologize for that, and we will be having that discussion then. As well as that, I do want to thank those parents who have reached out. We've had so many emails, whether they agree or disagree, whether it's coming back to school or sports, or masks or whatever the comment. Everyone has been so respectful, and I hope we get more of those emails. When it came to pay to participate, we had about 70 plus emails. I think we're hitting 10 or 12 so far when it comes to these other topics. So I would love people to share their comments. We're not mind readers. We do the best we can, but I would appreciate the public's input as much as possible. If you guys have opinions, to just continue to share your emails with us and participate in this process. So with that being said, our consent agenda is the next item on the agenda. This includes minutes of our regular board meetings, special board meetings, the personnel report, declaration for alternate routes, monthly financials, and the Middleton High School Athletic Department surplus request. So if there's any discussion prior, we can do that, or we can have a motion and do it after.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
So there's a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? We'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion passes. We're now on to the action items. So we need a motion to approve the amended 2020-2021 budget. Or we can discuss it first.
Let's discuss it, I think.
So prior to this meeting in our work session, the board had directed our superintendent and our business officer that education was one of our priorities, and we felt like getting prepared to head into the green category or modified yellow possible category were important to us, and we would like the budget to reflect hiring back those EAs that were cut, additional teaching staff, whatever that would look like, those needs, so that when we're ready, we can go. So they've accommodated that request. We've also discussed the SRO officer, if we go back in the green, and adding an additional SRO officer as a possibility. The pay to participate, supplementing additional costs to the sports, as we had talked about prior to the levy running. What else am I forgetting? Anything else big?
Well, I wanted that, I was able to keep the curriculum in the budget.
Oh, good.
So we will be watching everything closely, but that is our hope and intent, that we will be able to do the science adoption as part of this budget.
Okay, very cool.
Were we able to retain our fund balance to,
We're just under 5%.
okay, so the 15.
We're at 4. we're at 1.1, right, on my proposed.
looking.
Well, we're at $1 million.
Okay. And then,
So we, we're hoping as the state institutes some of our funding that we will be able to shift and hopefully get that up into our 5% by the end of this year, if not, definitely by the end of next year, to have a plan to get it to meet the board policy of 5%.
Do we know, the governor just announced some relief. Do we know what our piece of that is?
It's supposed to be the full 5%, but we don't have the details on it yet. So there's a webinar scheduled for the 17th, which is Thursday, I think, Thursday, where we will have more information on all the strings attached and exactly how much we're talking about.
if that money does come back, that full 5%, I know that can change funding for possibly aides in the classroom and things like that. Would that open up our budget for amendments again?
It could potentially, yes. I mean, once they award it, because it is tied to the CARES, to the relief money. So what the strings attached or how we can utilize it will impact that. But once it's confirmed and we know, then we may very much want to maybe delay it until we have an impact, kind of an idea of where we're headed toward the first of the year, not jump in and amend it right away. But I think timing wise, once it's confirmed of how it's going to be distributed and what the controls of the money will be, then we could come back and say, hey, this is where, and by then maybe we'll know where we're headed in, the COVID categories and what we would need to finish out the year.
Have they had a projected timeline of when that money would get distributed yet, or they just said?
I'm hoping they'll tell us that on the 17th.
Okay.
There's a webinar that will give us direction.
So we'll have more information next week at our meeting.
Yes. Yeah, in fact, I could provide a report on that at the 23rd if you'd like.
Yeah.
I would appreciate
That
that.
would be good.
That'd be great.
So I want to add that to the agenda for
Yeah.
the budget update.
Yep.
I would probably recommend waiting a little bit on amendment, just because we're going to roller coaster it with the county for a little bit right now. But
Well, just at least know where we're at.
yeah,
This is the first step.
right.
And make sure
I'm hoping that will help
it's our
us a
bank
little
account.
bit.
Exactly. And then we're actually getting it.
So that's the bank account, I'm not gonna spend it.
And we don't have to pay
Find
back.
out when it's distributed and what
Great
the
rainy
strings
day.
attached will be.
Right. Yeah.
And then, I'm kind of hoping that will help us with our fund balance a little bit. Because we don't know as we go, we're all hoping we can go to green, what the impact of that would be. And we don't know entirely what our transportations and reimbursements and things like that this year are going to look like, because we know our costs are going to be high. Per student costs are going to be high. So, and an important note is that our surrounding districts, well, and we are too, we're down in enrollment. But as the big districts are taking really big drops, the state keeps up every district at 97% whole, right? So they take the impact of their dropped enrollment to 3%, and then the state takes from everyone else to put into a pool to help keep everyone at 97. So all districts will feel that impact. So we're kind of, I think everybody needs to be a little bit hesitant until we get that first reporting period and know what it's going to shake out, because that is going to impact every district, even if our enrollment doesn't drop, which we're down now, but not as much as the surrounding districts. And I think that's partly because we have that online offering and the blended parents are staying with us. So I think we'll know, as we get into that fall and the first year, we'll really understand what our state funding is like on both sides. And then that's when we want to do an amendment. But I certainly by the 23rd should know at least how it's going to be distributed and when, and then we can start planning a little bit.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion about the budget?
If you could include in your motion, your position on the athletic fees.
Yeah.
Just as part of it,
Yeah.
approving them of the budget, even though we don't have it as a
Right.
separate item, but it does impact. That
Oh, yeah.
helps clarify, I think, to everyone.
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the amended 2020-2021 budget, as well as to add to that, I would like to make the motion that we move to the orange, which would be a flat fee for $150 for the high school and $50 for the middle school. And also have the caveat in there that either the parents can be refunded their money if they have already paid. And if they want to, if they choose, they can leave the money that they've already paid in there, and we'll have some sort of fund built up for maybe some less fortunate children that might not have the opportunity to play, and we can use that money to allow them to play.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion on the table with a second. Any further discussion? I just think that it's good faith to show our voters, and we do appreciate that they supported the levy. And I think where things are kind of slow on the education side, we can only push them so fast that it's a good faith effort to come good on our promises. So we'll call for the vote if there's no more discussion. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. The next item we have is the approved fee increase for driver's education. And we'll do discussion or a motion.
I move to increase the fees for driver's education to $200 as written in the proposal.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? We'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. The last item on our agenda today is the approval or ratify of the 2020-2021 negotiated agreement. And actually, before, just real quick, I just want to thank Cheryl and Kristen and all those who helped with the budget and all the extra hours, because there was a lot of them to go into run these numbers and rerun the numbers and run them again so that we know where we're at and we're moving forward at a good pace and we're confident in what we're doing with the money and very transparent. So I appreciate all your hard work there. And then moving into the negotiated agreement, Dave Stacy's here with us. He is the president of the MEA. So if you have any comments or anything you need to discuss before we move into ratification or to.
I would just like to echo your sentiment about thanking the negotiating team on both the MEA negotiators as well as the district level negotiators. This process was drawn out further than what is typical, but just because of COVID, so we do appreciate everybody sticking with it and getting it done.
Thank you. And that was a good opportunity and definitely different than we've done it in the past. So, but we got it done. So I appreciate that. And the levy helped with that as well. So we appreciate that. So we'll entertain an emotion and if there's any discussion.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the ratification of the 2020-2021 negotiated agreement.
Second.
So it's been motioned and second. Is there any discussion or does everyone understand what that is that we're approving or?
It's a teacher
Anything
pay
like that?
scale, right? What was
That's
agreed between?
Part of it.
Okay.
Could I maybe just, so to summarize a little bit, just that was not, because I know everybody probably hasn't read the negotiated agreement start to finish, so I won't go through that. But I think it's important to understand that the certificated staff in the district are not receiving raises, that the vertical movement on the salary schedule was frozen. All certificated staff will remain on the same step as they were in 1920. That the salary schedule for 2021 year remains exactly the same, with the exception of the state minimum, which will take teachers that were making under 40,000 to 40. And then certificated staff who were on row 3, R3 with 1920, if they've met the requirements for professional endorsement, they will also move to the state recommended base of 42,500. And then if in fact someone had worked hard and received additional credits or they received their master's last year, we will also provide them with the education allocation that's appropriate with the master's or BD 24. And then there really were pretty minimal changes within the document itself. On page 5, there was a comment added under negotiation procedure, and this one I'll just read because I think people, that the district and the association commit to communicating frequently together during the unprecedented COVID-19 global pandemic. Communication may include periodic financial updates, and the district and association shall work together to provide a safe and effective learning environment for students and staff. So really that, some clarification on extra duty leave if teachers fill in for a teacher that's absent just for one period for an appointment or something like that. We made a concession to allow them to accumulate, if they cover periods, cover a full day, then they would get an additional day of personal leave. So, I mean, other than that, then the district's continuing to pay the medical, 100% of medical for employees. There really wasn't a lot of not substantial changes, so I just kind of want to make everyone aware.
So I do have a question. If we get this 5% back, is there the possible opportunity that we could reinstate the potential of the increase in pay for those teachers or not?
The career ladder is not being funded.
Okay,
So this additional money is the discretionary money that was cut.
Yep.
Like for PD, for technology,
Yep,
there was
yep.
some leadership money.
okay,
But the salary schedule or the career ladder movement itself is still frozen.
okay.
So,
And everyone else is also frozen, classified administrators, it's district-wide, not just teachers.
Right.
Well, isn't that statewide? That's not just our district, didn't the
no, that's
state?
statewide. The career ladder is still, because that was separate from the 5% cut. That was an addition. They
Okay.
just froze that.
Oh.
May I add to this discussion?
Yeah, thank you.
It is our understanding that the 5% is coming back without any strings, as just discretionary funds. So we would hope that we could have the conversations that Trustee Moore was asking about. Yes.
And that does allow for the negotiations to be reopened anytime the district gets
That's correct.
a large influx or any influx of discretionary
Right.
funds.
Okay, that was the
And that's a
question I
different
really wanted.
conversation than
Yeah.
career ladder movement or funding,
Sure,
you know.
sure.
The state is not allowing movement on a career ladder as far as their funding to us,
Right.
right? They're not gonna increase it or give anyone movement on the salary schedule. Correct, your understanding too. That doesn't mean that the conversation can't be had if it's truly discretionary.
Right,
That's correct.
okay.
Same. There's a difference, yeah. Okay. No, I agree with that.
So if anyone wants some good reading, there's about 30 pages of negotiated agreement you can go through. Cheryl's done a good job and the negotiating team of going through it.
Let me know if you find it.
So anyways, we appreciate their hard work and willingness to work with the districts and the partnership we have with them. Did we make a motion already on that?
There is a-
Okay, so there's,
We just need to vote.
okay, so there's a motion on the table. It's been seconded. Any more discussion before we call for the vote? Okay, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 4-0. And I think that is all we have on our agenda for today. So do we have a motion for adjournment?
A motion we adjourn.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, everyone.